They asked her to sing at the talent show as a joke. But when Loretta Johnson took the stage, what happened next stunned the entire town and changed her life forever. This is the incredible story of a forgotten voice that refused to be silenced. Please, before we start this story, support us by liking this video, subscribe to our channel, and tell us where you're watching from. It was the annual autumn fair in the small town of Riverton, Georgia. Every year, locals gathered for food, games, and the highly anticipated community talent show. The event was usually filled with middle school dance teams, teen rappers, and the occasional off-key singer. But this year, things took a strange turn when an unexpected contestant walked onto the stage. Next up, we have Miss Loretta Johnson, the teenage MC announced, barely holding back a laugh. Loretta, a 76-year-old widow with graying dreadlocks tucked under a floppy church hat, slowly climbed the stage steps with the help of her cane. Dressed in a long floral skirt and faded denim jacket, she looked like someone's great-grandmother who had wandered off from the church picnic. Whispers and giggles rippled through the crowd. "She's seriously gonna sing," one high schooler chuckled. "I bet she's gonna do gospel or something from the dinosaur days." Loretta heard them. She heard every snicker and whisper, but she didn't flinch. She stood at the mic, adjusted it down to her height, and smiled gently at the crowd. A few folks in the audience shifted awkwardly. Others pulled out their phones, preparing to record what they assumed would be a train wreck. Backstage, one of the event organizers, Tanya Mitchell, watched with furrowed brows. "Did anyone even vet her?" she whispered to her coworker. "She just walked up and filled the form an hour ago." "No harm in letting her try," her coworker shrugged. "Worst case, it's just a minute of awkwardness." The music started. It was the opening piano notes to "A Change Is Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke. The crowd went quiet, even the teenagers. Loretta's voice, soft at first, grew rich and full as she sang the opening verse. It wasn't just the notes, it was the soul behind them. Every word dripped with emotion, like she had lived the song's pain and hope in equal measure. People began to sit up straighter. Phones lowered, smirks faded. By the time she reached the chorus, there wasn't a dry eye in the first few rows. In the middle of the crowd, 22-year-old Malik, who had earlier laughed the loudest, lowered his head in shame. "Yo," he whispered to his friend, "she's amazing." Even Tanya, who had doubted her from backstage, stood frozen with goosebumps crawling up her arms. Loretta sang like she wasn't in a town park, but on a stage meant for legends. Her eyes stayed closed, her hands gently trembling, as if she was channeling something divine. And as she finished the last note, the crowd, once full of doubt, rose to their feet in stunned silence. Then thunderous applause. Loretta opened her eyes and blinked in surprise. It was the first standing ovation of the night. The applause had lasted almost a full minute. It wasn't the polite kind. This was the kind that came from somewhere deep, born out of shock and awe. Loretta Johnson didn't bow or wave. She just stood there, tears brimming in her wise old eyes, soaking in something she hadn't felt in a long time. Respect. As she stepped down from the stage, people began to murmur, not with laughter this time, but with questions. "Who is she? Where'd she come from? I thought she was somebody's grandma, just here for the funnel cake." Tanya Mitchell rushed forward to help Loretta off the steps. "Miss Johnson," she said, a little breathless. That was incredible." Loretta chuckled softly, gripping Tanya's arm. "Thank you, baby. Just an old lady with an old song." "No, ma'am," Tanya said, shaking her head. "That was a performance. Have you sung before? I mean, professionally?" Loretta didn't answer right away. She just gave a little shrug and said, "Once a long time ago." But life had other plans. Backstage, the other contestants looked stunned. A hip-hop duo who'd performed earlier sat wide-eyed, their confidence shaken. A young girl who was supposed to go next suddenly looked like she wanted to disappear. Malik, still sitting in the audience, watched Loretta as she made her way to a bench near the exit. Something about her performance had struck a nerve. He felt foolish for having mocked her earlier, and even more so for never realizing she lived in his neighborhood. "Yo, that's Miss Loretta from Maple Street," he muttered to his friend Marcus. I see her all the time at the bus stop. You ever hear her sing before? No, man. She don't talk much. Just feeds stray cats and hums gospel to herself. As Loretta sipped a cup of water, a small group began to gather around her, curious townsfolk wanting to know more. A young woman named Renee knelt beside her. Miss Loretta, I'm so sorry people laughed. That was messed up. But you shut them all up. Loretta smiled, her wrinkles deepening. Don't worry about them, child. Laughter don't break bones, and sometimes it opens ears. Renee tilted her head. You ever think about auditioning for something bigger? Like America's Got Talent or something? Loretta laughed then, a warm, belly-deep sound. At my age? Baby, I can barely keep my roses alive. Let the young folks chase that dream. But you still got it, Renee said. You really got it. Just then, Tanya walked over again, holding a clipboard. Loretta, we don't normally do this, but would you be willing to sing again before the show ends, as an encore? Loretta raised an eyebrow. An encore? Honey, I've never had one of those in my life. Tanya nodded. Well, there's a first time for everything. And just like that, the woman everyone thought was a joke was becoming the highlight of the night. Loretta sat quietly on the edge of the folding chair near the stage, hands folded in her lap, watching the rest of the acts shuffle through their performances. Her encore was scheduled to close the show. People kept glancing her way, nodding or giving little smiles, completely different from the way they looked at her when she first stepped on stage. But in her mind, Loretta wasn't at the Riverton Autumn Fair anymore. She was somewhere else, somewhere far away. Her memory wandered back to 1967. She was 18, fresh out of high school, standing behind a scratched-up microphone in a smoky lounge in Memphis. Back then, she had dreams, big ones, and a voice strong enough to chase them. Her stage name had been Lori Ray. She had a small following in the Southern bar scene, even opened once for a little-known group at the time, The Emotions. Her manager used to say she had the kind of voice that could bring the devil to church. But dreams were expensive, and reality had a habit of showing up uninvited. A bad marriage, a baby girl, then a second, and a man who took everything, her money, her time, her voice, and disappeared. She had to give up the spotlight to raise her daughters. Took a job cleaning motel rooms, then another frying chicken at the gas station diner. Her voice got quieter, her hands rougher. The world moved on, and now nearly 60 years later, people were clapping again. Miss Loretta? It was Tanya again, kneeling beside her with that same look of awe. I don't mean to bother you, but someone from the local news station is here. He wants to talk to you. Said he saw a video someone posted and drove over. A video? Loretta asked, surprised. Yes, ma'am. It's already getting shared online. Folks are calling it the voice that shut down the fair. Loretta chuckled. Well, I suppose there's worse ways to go viral. A few rows behind them, Malik watched the interaction and finally stood up. He walked over, nervous and unsure. Excuse me, Miss Loretta? She turned to him, recognizing his face. Yes, baby? I just wanted to say, I was wrong earlier. I laughed when you went up there. I didn't know, and I'm sorry. Loretta reached for his hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. Takes a big heart to say that. I forgive you. You were amazing. I mean, you are amazing. Well, thank you, she said, her eyes softening. Just then, the MC's voice echoed through the speakers. And now, to close out tonight's show, by popular demand, please welcome back Miss Loretta Johnson. The crowd erupted. Real cheers this time. Not polite, not mocking. Loretta stood slowly, handed her cane to Tanya and whispered, Let's do one more for the road. As she made her way to the stage, the sun dipped below the treetops and the air turned golden. The old voice from the past was about to sing again. The stage lights flickered on as Loretta stepped back onto the wooden platform. This time there were no snickers, no rolling eyes, no one looking at their phones. She stood center stage with only a mic stand and the autumn wind gently rustling the fair tents around them. Her silhouette, small and graceful, commanded attention like a queen in her court. Y'all okay if I take it back old school one more time? She asked, her voice steady but playful. The crowd hollered in response. Someone shouted, "Sing it, Miss Loretta!" and applause followed. The band hadn't prepared for another number, but Tanya had already scrambled to connect her phone to the speakers. Loretta had given her the title just moments before. The instrumental of "At Last" by Etta James poured out of the speakers, soft, dreamy, the kind of tune that turned a fairground into a ballroom. Loretta didn't rush. She closed her eyes, took one deep breath, and opened her mouth. The first note floated into the air like a blessing. Smooth, powerful, deep with history and warmth. People forgot where they were. Teenagers clung to the metal fences surrounding the stage. Elderly couples held hands, some mouthing the lyrics with her. Children sat cross-legged at the front, staring up at her like they were watching a fairy tale come to life. And in the middle of the song, something even more magical happened. A man in the audience, early 70s, with a salt and pepper beard, removed his cap slowly. His eyes widened, then filled with tears. "I'll be damned," he whispered. "That's Lori Ray." The man's name was Harold Benson, a retired music producer who had once worked with Loretta in Memphis. He had thought she disappeared decades ago, and now here she was, singing like not a day had passed. The last note of the song brought the crowd to its feet once more, this time even louder than before. Cheers, whistles, people clapping so hard their palms turned red. Loretta held the mic close to her chest, breathless but glowing. The applause went on until she finally gave a humble nod and stepped away. As she walked down the steps, Harold pushed his way forward. Lori Ray, is that really you?" Loretta blinked. "Harold," he grabbed her hands. "Lord have mercy, it is you. I thought you'd vanished." "Well, I guess I did," she said with a chuckle. "Had some living to do, but I'm still here." Tanya watched the reunion in awe. The woman who had wandered up to sign her name last minute was now the talk of the town and possibly the internet. "You need to be on a real stage," Harold said urgently. "I can make some calls, set up a show, a real one." Loretta paused and then smiled. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves, one song at a time." But deep down, something stirred in her. Maybe this wasn't the end of the song after all. By Monday morning, the sleepy town of Riverton was buzzing. Phones were ringing, inboxes were full, and Loretta Johnson's name was on everyone's lips. A shaky video clip of her encore performance had made its way to social media. By sunrise, it had already been shared by 3 radio stations, a local celebrity chef, and a jazz club in New Orleans. Tanya Mitchell stood behind the front desk of City Hall, barely keeping up with the calls. "Yes, sir. She is from here. Yes, born and raised. No, she's not on Instagram. No, I don't believe she has a manager." She hung up, exasperated but grinning. Just then, the front door opened and in shuffled the woman of the hour. "Loretta," Tanya beamed. "You're trending, lady. You're practically famous." Loretta adjusted the scarf around her shoulders and smiled softly. "I heard. Someone at the grocery store asked me for a selfie. I told them they probably mistook me for someone else." Tanya laughed. "They knew exactly who you were." Loretta took a seat. "I came to say thank you, baby. You didn't have to let me sing. I know it was supposed to be fun and lighthearted." "No," Tanya interrupted. "Thank you. That stage was lucky to have you." Just then, Tanya's cell buzzed. She looked down at the screen. "Hold on, another one. This guy's been calling all morning," she answered, and her face changed within seconds. "Yes, she's here now." "You're serious? Hold on." She pressed the phone against her chest. "Loretta, this is big. A talent rep from Atlanta is on the line. They work with touring soul and jazz acts. He wants to speak with you." Loretta blinked. "He wants me? To do what? Sing on the street corner?" Tanya chuckled and handed her the phone. Loretta hesitated, then took it gently. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was warm and professional. "Miss Johnson, my name's Darren Walsh. I saw your video yesterday and, well, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Your tone, your control, it's rare. We'd love to fly you to Atlanta. One song, a private showcase. No strings unless you want them." Loretta was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Walsh, I'm 77 years old. My knees pop when I climb stairs. You sure you want me?" "I'm positive," Darren said. The world's hungry for real voices again, and yours might be just what it needs." She didn't say yes. Not yet. She simply thanked him, handed the phone back to Tanya, and sat there for a long while. After a minute, she said, "When I was 20, I thought I had missed my shot. Then at 30, I thought it was too late. At 40, I stopped singing altogether." Tanya leaned in. "So what do you think now?" Loretta looked out the window, watching the breeze dance through the trees. "I think maybe it's not too late after all." 2 weeks later, Loretta Johnson stood in the terminal of Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, gripping her vintage leather handbag like it held all the courage she had left. Tanya had insisted on coming along. "You're not going to face this alone," she said, pushing a borrowed suitcase and wearing a hoodie that read, "Support Local Legends." A black SUV was waiting just outside baggage claim, sent by Darren Walsh himself. When the driver opened the door, Loretta paused. "Last time someone picked me up in a car like this, it was 1968, and I was opening for a Motown quartet that never made it out of Georgia." Tanya smirked. "Let's hope this time ends a little different." The ride to the venue was smooth. Loretta looked out the window at Atlanta's busy skyline. Towers, billboards, traffic lights blinking like stage cues. Her heart thudded with a mix of fear and something she hadn't felt in decades: thrill. They arrived at a sleek, intimate venue called the Velvet Note, known for hosting jazz talents and soul legends in its early days. Loretta's name wasn't on the marquee, but Darren was waiting inside, clipboard in hand and a welcoming smile on his face. "Miss Loretta, it's so good to finally meet you in person," he said, shaking her hand. "The room's yours for the next 2 hours. Sing whatever you want." He led them into the softly lit space, where a grand piano sat center stage and a 4-piece band warmed up in the corner. Loretta hadn't stood in front of live musicians since her 20s. She swallowed hard. "Do they know Stardust?" The pianist grinned. "I know every version." Loretta removed her coat slowly, revealing a simple navy blue dress. Tanya smoothed her shoulder. "You got this." Then Loretta stepped up to the mic. No fanfare, no introductions. Just a soft piano intro and a woman reclaiming the part of herself she thought was lost forever. She sang Stardust like the words had been stitched into her soul. Her voice, mellow but rich, carrying weight and wisdom, drifted through the room like silk over hardwood. Darren watched from the back, arms folded, smiling in disbelief. His phone buzzed. Someone from BET had already reached out after catching the Riverton video. He didn't answer. He just kept listening. When the last note fell, the room fell silent. Then a slow, respectful applause rose from the shadows. Not loud, but full of reverence. Loretta stepped back from the mic, her chest rising and falling. She didn't need a standing ovation. She didn't need a record deal. She just needed this moment. Darren approached her quietly. "Miss Johnson, we'd like to invite you to sing on our Southern Soul tour next spring. You won't need to do more than 5 shows. Just you, a mic, and a piano." Loretta looked over at Tanya, who had tears in her eyes. "All right," she said softly. "Let's see if I still got it." Spring arrived in Riverton with a kind of excitement the town hadn't seen in decades. Flyers lined every coffee shop window and library door. Southern Soul Tour, featuring the unforgettable Loretta Johnson. And there she was, smiling in black and white, looking like a living legend. The first show kicked off in Birmingham, followed by stops in Savannah, Memphis, Charleston, and the grand finale in Nashville. Every seat was filled. Every time she walked on stage, the crowd would rise to their feet before she even sang a note. Her voice, seasoned, soulful, full of stories, was the thread that tied generations together. Some cried, some danced, but everyone remembered. By the time she arrived back home, Loretta Johnson wasn't just the old lady who sang at the fair anymore. She was Riverton's treasure. The town held a small parade for her return. Children held up signs that read LJ Forever, and the mayor presented her with a plaque that declared April 22nd Loretta Johnson Day. Loretta, in her modest Sunday dress and pearls, chuckled as she stood at the podium in the town square. "I don't rightly know what to say," she began, "but I guess the lesson in all this is, if you've got a gift, don't bury it. Don't let the world's noise make you believe it's too late. I spent years hiding my voice, but I'm glad I found it again before the Lord called me home." The crowd clapped and hollered, and a group of teenagers from the high school choir even sang "At Last" in her honor. Later that summer, Loretta took on a new role, vocal coach at the community center. Every Wednesday afternoon, she taught eager young singers how to breathe, how to find their truth in a lyric, and most of all, how to believe in themselves. She became more than a teacher. She was a mentor, a second grandmother to some, a legend to all. One afternoon, after wrapping up a lesson with a shy girl named Nina, Loretta sat out on the bench beneath the big oak tree and watched the sun begin to set. Tanya joined her, holding 2 lemonades. "You ever imagine life would turn out like this?" Tanya asked. Loretta smiled. "I used to imagine it when I was young. Then I stopped. Figured those dreams were for someone else. But here we are." Tanya raised her cup. "To new beginnings at any age." Loretta clinked hers gently. "To using every note God gave you." And in that moment, with the breeze rustling through the leaves and the laughter of children echoing from the playground, Loretta Johnson wasn't just a woman who got a second chance. She was a reminder to the whole world that the spotlight never dims for those who are brave enough to step into it, no matter how long they've waited. Loretta Johnson's story is more than just a feel-good tale about an old woman who finally got her moment. It's a testament to resilience, hidden talent, and the power of believing in yourself no matter how much time has passed. For decades, Loretta carried a voice that could move souls, yet she silenced it out of fear, doubt, and the belief that her time had passed. But one small opportunity, a talent show she wasn't even meant to take seriously, opened a door she thought had been locked forever. Her journey reminds us all, it's never too late to be seen, to be heard, or to live the dream you tucked away long ago. Whether you're 17 or 77, your gifts still matter. All it takes is one brave moment, one open mic, or one person who believes in you. Loretta found her stage, and through her story, maybe you'll find yours too. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring true life stories. And remember, no matter your age, it's never too late to shine.